Everybody, once again, thank you for visiting again. I'm your host, Jonathan Crum, and this is the Macarios Life, where you get to learn a little bit about me and my journey with multiple sclerosis. And then I also want this to be a place to where you can find encouragement. So, as you've seen in the title, we're going to talk about depression today. But before we get into that, what I really would like to jump into is, how are you doing? Right? What are you experiencing? How's life treating you? Well, listen, the whole point of this podcast, the whole point of this YouTube channel is to help us to see things in a new light. To help us not to get so wrapped up in the trappings of this life that we forget how blessed we truly are. And not just with material blessing, because sometimes when our hope is too closely aligned with getting that new job or getting that promotion or getting that car or that house or the positive diagnosis at the doctor or some positive news from a family member, sometimes when we put so much hope in those things and it doesn't come out the way that we anticipate it to come, then that can be a real shot against our joy, a real shot against our happiness, right? Well, that's what I want this community to be. I don't want us to dissociate ourselves from that emotionally. I want us to have it in its proper perspective. See, if you have the Macarios life, it means that you are totally you're totally giving yourself to what God has done for you. Right? Because in the end, none of these things really matter. In the end, it won't matter what your salary looked like. In the end, it won't matter how big your house is. In the end, you and I will stand before God and give an account of the life that we lived. And were we people that loved on people? Were we people that weren't ashamed to be associated with those who may be on the fringe of society? Were we someone that people could count on? Did we encourage people? How did we live our lives and how it impacted other people? So no, I'm sorry, this won't be a place into where we give you 6 steps in how to be happy. This won't be a place where I give you 11 keys to never feel sad again. This is going to be a place of realness, that I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to share some things that are real about myself, because I want to be transparent to let you know that you're not in this life by yourself. Listen, there are enough influencers out there that use filters and that are going to make it seem like their life is great and they never have any challenges. That is not me, and that is not what this is about. So I just wanted to go ahead and kind of start there and then start kind of moving into the topic that we have today. So let's talk about depression. Over 50% of people who are diagnosed with MS do deal with depression, clinical depression. Has a lot to do with how the nerves and receptors are working in our body. And when I first started learning about symptoms, I wasn't aware of all of what would display in my body. And it took me some time to realize, because when we hear negative statistics or we hear really, really good statistics, like, we want to either exclude ourselves from it, saying, hey, well, that's not me, or, oh, I'm definitely that. And so, initially I thought I'm not going to struggle with that, because of course I'm a part of the 49%, right? But over time, I began to realize different changes in my attitude, and things that used to bring me joy didn't bring me as much joy. Things that I would be interested in doing, I wasn't really interested in doing anymore. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with depression, you probably know this statement, but it just didn't seem like the sun would shine as bright. And I didn't know what to do. And so as I began to do research and I saw that this could be a potential symptom of this disease, I went to my neurologist at the time and I said, this is what I'm kind of feeling. What are some things that I can do? And he recommended that I start off with a low dosage of antidepressant. And I kind of thought about that because, in our minds, if you're not familiar with this world, you kind of think, well, I'm not that person where I need to have medication and then I'm probably going to be all zoned out all of the time and my kids are going to be asking what's wrong with daddy and then potentially get addicted to it. Like all of these things went through my head and none of the things were true. And actually, for the first year or so, it really helped me establish a new baseline into where I could begin to achieve things and have a level of confidence that I hadn't had before. And so I realized that there is something to that type of depression. And then we have situational depression as well. During the time of my diagnosis and trying to figure out certain things with my body and my mental capacity and things like that, my mother passed. And that was a slew of issues that happened there and some challenges within my family, things that we're still dealing with today. And I'm being prayerful that the Lord begins to add some restoration there. But once again, I found myself in a place where just not wanting to do anything, not wanting to go to work and not wanting to leave the house and not wanting to watch movies. And I love movies, particularly Marvel movies. I mean, some of you can see behind me, I've got some figures around, and trust me, that's just a small sample. That's all I want you to see at this point. But I begin to feel that. I begin to feel that, and I didn't know what to do. And so I reached out to a family member, and they recommended me talking to a counselor. And once again, that helped me as well to talk about what I'm feeling and to help me process through these things. It was a very, very dark time for me. And for many of you, you may not have known it because, what do we do as human beings? We become great actors, right? We want to put our best self forward and we want to smile and laugh. But behind closed doors, we're crying or we feel trapped inside or we just hate our lives, right? I can say that at some point I just hated my life. But it's real. Depression is real. But depression doesn't have to define us. It doesn't have to be the end. It can be a part of our journey. And if you are dealing with depression, I want to say I empathize with you and I'm here for you. And I want to support you any way that I can. Because during those times, I would not have been able to navigate through that difficult time without my neurologist, an expert, someone telling me what's physically happening with me beyond my control. Really? Helping me there. Then having an incredible family support network. And I know that not everybody has that. But it was very beneficial for me when times got really low and I just didn't feel like doing anything. My wife would just be so understanding, check in with me, ask me how I'm doing, what could she do. My kids, man, I love my kids. I those times that I would get really, really low, I would just try to picture their faces and the joy that they bring my life. And that might not be everybody. Maybe you don't like your kids. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But maybe you don't have kids. So maybe it's friends, right? And then also having a counselor, someone that I could talk to about the thoughts in my mind and not be judged for it, right? Because sometimes you could be taken to some really dark places. And listen, I love the Lord and I've walked with the Lord a long time, but there are some things that just can't be prayed away. There are some things that we need to do to be involved in our healing. And there were some things I needed to hear. There were some steps that I needed to take. And I'm grateful that right now I'm in a really, really good place. Now, I don't know what I'm going to be like in 3 months or 6 months or next year. You'll know. I'll keep on doing the podcast and my YouTube channel just to keep you up to date on all that's going on. But I just wanted to let you know that this is a place where we can talk about these things. And you don't have to be ashamed or afraid if depression is something that you struggle with. There are resources and there are people that want to help you. And certainly this is a place. If that's you, please, you can write a comment in the section where you can just say, hey, it's me, or been there before. I know somebody who's going through that. But let's get better together. I believe we are all designed to have this Makarios life, this blessed life, that we don't have to be defined by the challenges that we go through, but our life can be defined by something higher, that we are being called higher. I thought about this thought, then I'm going to let you go. You guys remember when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high? I was thinking about this, and tell me what you think. When life brings us down, we can choose to go higher. Remember, I said that life is not just about what happens to us, but our response. That's what matters. Life is going to hit us all, but it's how we respond. Hey, thank you for spending a little time with me. I totally enjoy this. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Thank you for everybody who watched the first video. It was so encouraging. So do me a favor. Follow us on Instagram, _Makarios_life. Go to YouTube. Listen, please subscribe. I want to reach as many people with this message and how we can be blessed. And I'm praying that you're being blessed by this as well. So thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to chatting with you next time.